Welcome to Coffee Across America. We're traveling these United States, visiting local coffee shops and sharing their stories. Today we're in downtown Augusta, Georgia, visiting Ubora Coffee Roasters.
Phillip. I'm the co-owner of Ubora Coffee. We have two other owners, Andre Leon, and he is deployed right now actually, and then our other owner, Walter, is off running deliveries for all the freshly bought coffee that we just had online. I was born and raised in North Carolina, Winston-Salem to be exact, on a farm, a 100-year century farm with my parents. I was the only child, grew up raising cattle and goats, and so I lived in a semi-small town, but it was pretty big. I was on the skirts of it. I enjoyed life, had fun, listened to my dad's Navy stories. After I went to high school and graduated, I thought I was going to go to college, but realized I didn't quite have the funds to go to college. So I decided to go to community college, work my way through, try to get into the college, and then I realized that it wasn't exactly where I wanted to be. So I joined the Navy, saw the world, met my wife, had two beautiful kids, been in for now 14 years, and have been married for 12 with two big boys now, 10 and 7, Jonathan and Chris. And while I was on this adventure of life, I met my friend Andre. So I was at my second command in Pax River, Maryland, and we had connected because he was an airman, just checked in. I was the second class of the command running the Tron shop. He was in the airframe shop. And we had basically he was a great dude. We hung out, did a lot of outdoor activities together, like rock climbing, archery, stuff like that. And we just stayed good friends. Me and my wife mentored him through the Navy, like the Navy teaches us to do, really take care of the younger generation, bring them up, because they're going to replace me someday. We realized at that point that the job he was doing, which is an airframer, was not what he really loved doing, and I had my job that I loved doing. So we helped him get into the officer side of the house, and he was in intelligence in the Navy. Went out to Hawaii, we stayed good friends, kept connected. I transferred down to Jacksonville, Florida, and then basically became an acoustic warfare operator, so I track submarines while we fly. Done 2 deployments, came off my second one, and my wife had built me like a little mini man cave for me as a surprise, as our 10-year anniversary gift. And he had come down and helped her build it. And she told him, she was like, hey, Phil's not as happy as his new job. He really loved doing his old way, but this new job, it sits in front of a computer screen all day for 10 hours. It's not what he loves to do. And he was like, hey, well, I've got a business venture. I've had this idea I've been tossing around. It was a hobby at first, and now it's really starting to take off. So I came home off my deployment. He came down, and this is kind of where the success story of this starts. He slid a cup of coffee across after he did his whole pour over spill and everything. Slid it across to me, and I was like, yeah, this is black coffee. I'm a cream and sugar kind of guy. My mom drank coffee black, and that was my first taste of coffee was Folgers. And he was like, no, give it a try. So I tried it, and I was like, holy crap, like, what is this? He was like, it's coffee. It's coffee the way it is meant to be drank, the way that the rest of the world drinks it. He was like, you get the American style that a lot of large companies have portrayed, that we need to have this ton of cream and sugar and all this stuff, or either they burn it or whatnot, what they do to sell and get people to buy. It's not the way that coffee is intended to be enjoyed. It's like you wouldn't go to a nice Ruth Chris Steakhouse or one of those places and pour A1 sauce all over a steak that you just paid a massive amount of money for. You shouldn't be adding cream and sugar to good quality coffee. And I was like, okay, I get that concept. And so I kept drinking, and after a while I'm like, okay, can I get a third cup? And he's like, oh, easy there, killer. You're going to be running laps around this house in a second. And I was like, okay, well, what's the deal with this? This is like a new hobby you have, because this is pretty awesome, I think. And he was like, yeah, I've been roasting for the last 6 years. Since I left Pax River with you, I had picked up roasting coffee, and I've just roasted in my house. I had a 1-pound roaster and was just going with it. And then friends and family started enjoying it, buying it, and I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. Like, I want more. So he was like, do you want to start this business? And I'm like, okay. So he went through the spiel. He's like, hey, I want to get a cafe to where people come in and they enjoy themselves. He goes, yes, we do have Wi-Fi. But he wants to get back to the conversations of like speaking to your neighbor. Get to know your neighbor. Because really the news portrays things so bad because they never portray good that happens that often. It's like the news is filled with 80% bad and then maybe 20% heartfelt, warm stories. Yet, it should be the reverse in reality. You have that 80% good, heartfelt stories, and yes, there is 20% bad. And so I was like, okay, so you don't want Wi-Fi? He's like, no, I want it because we want to support college students in learning, because me and his big thing was, he had already had his degree. I was working on mine to prove to my two boys that, even with a job, you still need to have that education. My wife has already got her master's. I was still finishing up my bachelor's at the time. And I was like, okay, so we really want to make sure that this coffee shop is where people come to relax and actually talk to people. Like, set up these couches, set up the chairs, and get to know their neighbor again. It's just awesome that we can have this ability to affect so many people, because we know at some point we're going to get out of the Navy. We're going to have to pass the torch to the younger generation. And we are looking at this cafe as our ability to still affect so many people, because right now we have 7 employees that we pay and support their families and their livelihoods while we still work for the Navy and until we get out. That part for us was amazing. Ubora comes from excellence in Swahili. Swahili is the closest language that will translate from Ethiopia. Ethiopia, of course, is the birthplace of coffee, and Andre wants to relate everything back to where the origins of coffee came from. Hence the design and symbol, hence the name. And if you look inside of our cups, it says excellence in every cup. So we've tied in the names. We gave a lot of thought to this. It wasn't just thrown together. It was a lot of recipes. We have later brought in another business partner named Walter. He, from the get-go, had picked up with Andre the love of coffee. They had met over coffee, and they really kicked it off because they were just like, wow, coffee should taste this way, not the other ways. He had worked at some other major specialty coffee shops in the Northwest. So he brought his A game of recipes, knowledge, and all that, and him and Andre built what you see as our cafe side of the house, and then roasting-wise. So it was pretty interesting to see how all that tied together with us 3 being active duty, my wife even being active duty, and we are running this to make, hopefully, change Augusta, and hopefully one day move into other places to have cafes just like this. So at first we had to go through brokers to get our coffees. We weren't big enough to bring in, like, say, pallets or huge containers. But every coffee farm that we chose for a mission or a reason or a purpose. We didn't just go to try to find the cheapest bean. We're not that kind of coffee shop. We wanted to change the world literally from the bean to the cup. And that, for us, one of our major farms that we support is in Rwanda. It's an all-women's farm. Every bit of the proceeds that go back to them help build schools, roads, infrastructure, hospitals. It just helps them grow, and it's all women. So that's why we were like, holy crap, we really can get behind a farm with a mission statement like that, and knowing that, yes, we're not paying 75 cents, we're paying well above fair trade prices for our coffee from the farmer, and then bring it in here, and then we also serve up an excellent cup, because their coffee is phenomenal that we get it from. And that also goes for the same for some of our South American farms that we go. It's all single point of origins, farms that we've handpicked, or we've talked to certain farmers. I've met one of them in Seattle last year and got to know him and his family. So we are hoping to be able to go and travel these farms in the next few years once we get up a little bit bigger and better with the farms that we have found. And we've stuck with them. We don't want to change. So we keep, even though we've already gone through 2 seasons of crops, we keep going back to them because, one, their attention to detail is just phenomenal, and the kind of coffee that they still send us every time. We can tell they put their love and heart into the growing process, and then that's where we transfer to our cups and have that for our customers. Favorite part of having this coffee shop is honestly the interactions with the customers and getting them to convert from, say, something that was a super over sugary drink to being able to be like, hey, I understand that you enjoyed this cup from this company. How can we serve you something that maybe is a lot healthier, or the taste, you get to enjoy what coffee was really meant to be. I fully see that, and that's why, like, when Andre converted me the first time, and I get to convert other people and be like, hey, this is black coffee. This is the way coffee is supposed to be intended to be enjoyed. That, I think, is the fun part. And then plus building it. Like, the fact that I've conquered most of this stuff, with Andre's help. My father passed away last year, and he was a master woodworker, and I was like, I'd watch him build all the time. Never really picked that up. I had always been a mechanical. I'd always worked with my hands, and I watched him make these beautiful handwood carved pieces, and the way he could just build anything from a pitcher. passed away. And shortly after he passed away, Andre was like, hey, the guy that was supposed to build the bar backed out on us, walked away. We have no bar. And we're literally going to open up in a few months. And I just kind of looked at him and I was like, I don't think I can bring it to myself. I just can't look at his tools. I walked in, and within 48 hours, I had this built. Literally, the frame was already there because the guy had left us, but the whole top and everything else, we had built it and put it together. And it was just one of those things, like, we worked through the night. I had another best friend that was up here kind of guiding us through too. And he was like, bro, you did this all yourself. Like, you had no clue what you were doing. But I felt like my father had guided me through the whole thing. It was a pretty phenomenal experience. I was kind of looking at bars, so it was always kind of special to me. Sorry. And then knowing that we built all these tables to ourselves, everything here is handcrafted, just like the coffee that we serve. It's literally the love that we have for the people, and the fact that Tony, our roast master, and Andre, the primary roast master, come in here, and each day they tweak and run the machine to get that perfect cup of coffee to what people enjoy. And then Tony and Andre will sit in the back and watch people enjoy their coffee and see the look of expression on their face when they've had that first sip. And it's just the aha moment of, like, there's the color coming back in their skin, or there's the fact that they now are looking refreshed and awake. Biggest challenge. Opening the store, honestly. For us, it was just getting here. We financed it ourselves. Me and my wife was basically debt-free at the time because we were getting ready to get out of the military, so we were starting to live on one paycheck, getting ready to prepare to have just, our retirement check from the Navy support us. And Andre came in and was like, hey, I got this business idea. I need some backing too. So we came in and did all that. We had been promised a lot of things by certain people when we moved into this cafe location, and it just kind of fell in the back burner. We had to power through a lot of issues with the building itself, and it was stuff. I mean, Andre picked this beautiful location for its personality, but it had a lot of personality that we didn't expect either. So we had to work with fixing a lot of leaks, a lot of issues with the building, getting it up to code. And the worst part is I'm stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. So every weekend, 278 miles, I drive up here Friday night, work 20 plus hours, and then leave on a Sunday at 3 or 4 o'clock to be back with my family, work through the week for the Navy. And I did that on a repeat for almost 4 months to get this place built into shape. There was a lot of headaches because your supply stores weren't open on the weekends that we were working. Lowe's has me by name now. They know me really well there. So it's kind of funny because, like, the people there would be like, hey, how's the shop coming along? And I'm like, we're hitting some speed bumps, but we're pushing through. But November 10th was the sweetest day ever for us because we were able to open up the shop for the first day. I didn't even get to make it because my naval job didn't allow me to be there because I was taking care of business for that stuff, which is fine. But Andre got to enjoy it with the rest of his family and friends, and it was a very successful day. And from there, we've just grown. But the biggest hurdles was literally just the space, honestly, and not knowing whether or not we were going to make it to the finish line because we didn't have that financial backing. We didn't have quite the mentorship of jumping into a business. I mean, I had run a business with my mom. She ran, like a kind of a wine and beer store in North Carolina. And so I had some business aptitude with it. But jumping into that, Andre and I are both from two different backgrounds of knowledge and business. And then Walter has his knowledge of business that he brought to the table. So with all three of us combined, and then the good friends and family support that we had that we would lean on and ask questions to, and a few business owners here in Augusta that took us under their wings, it's actually turned into a really successful shop. But that was probably our biggest hurdles was here, and then just not knowing if we were going to see the light when we started back in November of the year before and started working in this place. We do hope on a common ground that we can go out and affect multitudes of families with jobs, places to go and have a place to work that isn't that office or that cubicle or the parents that work at home. We want to be able to give a place that people can come and feel safe and have a warm conversation with the quality employees that we have here. We have some of the best baristas I feel in the area that really do take care and they know their customers. So we're hoping to expand that to other states, other areas when we can. And also with our roastery side of the house, what we do is we want to make sure that when they have that cup of coffee, that we roast it that day or the day before and ship it out. So they have the coffee at the peak freshness available. Within 2 to 3 days, they have that coffee at their door. 4 max in certain parts of the country, unfortunately. But the fact that we can roast something and get it to their door in their cup within 4 days is, to me, a phenomenal thing. And that we are able to share that, even though we are located here in Augusta, Georgia, we can share that with anybody around the United States and get that to them. I mean, we've had orders all the way up in Alaska, big supporters of companies we've helped out. We partnered with DV Radio, which support veterans with PTSD and suicidal issues. And they have a farm up in New Hampshire that they run, and they bring veterans in and they help them reintegrate with society and help them get back on their feet and show them that they have a purpose, they have a meaning, and that they're not broken, they're loved. And for us, like, to be able to support them, because we sell their bags, so like we give 40% back on every bag bought goes back to them, and that helps support their mission statement. And for us, being able to have that impact, not just here in the cafe, but with veterans around the world or around the United States, and then also being able to support other people that want to buy our coffee, it makes our mission statement so much better that we can affect as many people as we can to have a better life.
The next time you're in Augusta, check these guys out. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.